Okay, let's get going. So, Wororg, you have the stage. Take your time to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Wororg, or well, my real life name is Christian, and I'm a 25-year-old guy from Germany. I'm currently studying computer science, and yeah, I just got into drawing this year. That's mainly the thing I do right now.
Awesome. Okay, so that's interesting. Thanks for introducing yourself. So, I want to jump to my first question, which is an easy one for you. What motivated you to pursue this hobby of drawing artwork?
That was when I got into Azur Lane and started playing and saw all the characters. I eventually fell in love with Helena, as you know,
Yeah.
and I started commissioning art of her. And I asked around, asked some friends if they have any recommendations for artists. And one of my friends recommended me an artist, and I started working with him. And he sent me the work in progress of the artwork that I requested. And when I saw how the whole thing is coming together, I kind of felt like the urge, I want to do that too. I want to be able to draw her too. And I just started drawing. I messaged another friend who was also drawing. He's not a professional artist or something. Just he just occasionally does it. And asked him, "Do you have any tips or tricks, any suggestions how I can start drawing?" And he gave me some points. Recommended me a way how to draw heads, and I just started doing my first drawing, which was on my old Samsung tablet. So not on my PC like I do now, but just on my tablet. And I didn't have a pen. I just did it with my fingers, which was kind of funny.
Okay, so the mention of the tablet and the computer that you have, this does serve relevance to the next question I wanted to ask you. So the question is, what program do you currently use? All you have to do is tell me what benefits this program has, especially in your opinion, and talk about what makes this program ideal for you in comparison to other programs out there.
Okay, so right now I'm using Krita, which is a free drawing application. So it doesn't cost you anything. You can pay for it if you want to support the creators, but it's completely free if you want. And it's really neat. It has a lot of features. It also has features for animating. I haven't tried it out yet, but it's pretty much like Clip Studio Paint. Maybe not as impressive, but it's pretty neat. So I'm using that right now. I'm considering switching to Clip Studio Paint just to see how it works. But for now, I'm pretty happy with Krita.
Okay, so you mentioned Clip Studio Paint. That does remind me of another artist that I did commission artwork from. I'm not sure if you remember or have seen his artwork that I shared around. This guy named Alcid111. I commissioned him a while ago for some Ezra Lane artwork featuring the Essex class. So that's one thing that you may or may not know. And yeah, he does use Clip Studio Paint. Whereas, from my experience, I'll be honest with you, I know this program is seen as somewhat mainstream or the top dog, I guess you could say, for some people. There are artists out there who use Photoshop, and Photoshop was the program that always came to my mind when it comes to thinking about, okay, what programs do artists use? And I've tried Photoshop myself. I would say it's something you couldn't really enjoy if you don't know how to draw. So hopefully that's one thing you learned about me, that I'm not an artist like you. So, anyways, moving on to the third question, which is, what do you consider challenging when it comes to drawing? I would like for you to tell me what you found difficult starting out and anything you found difficult today.
Well, honestly, there are a lot of things that are still very difficult for me. But probably the most difficult thing you have to keep in mind when you start drawing is that you shouldn't just go from your imagination, just try drawing whatever comes to your mind, but you should work with references. So you should get as much references as you can, and have like a main one where you take the pose, and you shouldn't necessarily trace it. You can trace if you want to practice, but you shouldn't trace anything and say it's yours. That that's just not good practice. But for practice, you should and can use as much references as possible and try and work with them. And not every beginner artist knows this, and then they have a lot of problems starting out. And I also tried drawing from my imagination, and it just didn't work out. It turned out really badly, and I gave up on that particular drawing.
Awesome. Okay, so when you mention the challenges you faced, you are correct. You shouldn't just trace something and then later claim it as your own. I can understand why some people may not consider tracing artwork as your own because you're just tracing somebody else's stuff. I understand that. It's kind of like I know this is a bad comparison. I think it has to be okay if you're making montages of content, clips of videos, and those videos are not even your own, just other people's videos that you combined into one video. And I can see that stigma floating around as well. So, moving on to something a lot that I have to tell you, I do not draw, as you already know, but from what I understand, the idea of details, it's difficult. So to go into what I want to share with you is the typical drawing process that I've seen and heard from other artists. So other than sketching and line arting, I would like to start with the mention of shading because you would have to know where the light is casting, in what direction, and where to draw it. Whereas if you were to draw something with just color, that works too, and it's nothing wrong. I've seen artwork that is done as a colored sketch with no shading. But other than shading, to return to the discussion about details, I know when you draw just about anything, to go in depth with details, it's more work. I would not deny that going with an art style with a lot of detail is a lot of work, but to improve on drawing, again from a personal observation, it starts out with learning what you want to draw, then it gets more complicated, again with details and what you are adding. So for example, using your artwork as an example, you would have to understand, okay, what characters and anything you want to add with a simple background, for example. And I've seen the ideas that you've done where you incorporated a background. That is what I've seen with some artists, and it's cool because to draw a background with more detail adds into a cooler idea of scene building. For example, one of your artworks, the Kumano racing fan art, where she is in a vehicle of some sort on a quiet road in a desert, and that does remind me of what I have asked around, which was to try and to get artists to draw a background of a large shopping mall's interior, because this type of setting is a lot to draw, but that's one type of artwork I like, and I do like interior designs of mall architecture, as I can imagine there would be a lot of details along with characters as in addition to the work. So that's one thing you would be familiar with because I did ask you about that before. So if you want, you can take my suggestion on drawing mall interiors. And another skill to try out for you would be to draw based off of what someone is describing to you, because when looking around for references, sometimes what you want isn't there. And just a final point on my long response to you. To draw the interior of a large shopping mall, I think it would be easy when it comes to drawing just a building material because when you look at typical mall designs, especially today, I doubt you will find a floor, wall, or ceiling that has complex patterns. So it's usually just a singular color, and I would argue it's easier than drawing a vehicle. So now, could you tell me how many days would it take to finish one artwork that would feature a character or more with a background? This also includes the process of days or hours coming up with ideas and narrowing down what you want to do before proceeding to the first phase of the work.
How long it takes probably depends on how many characters you want to settle down on and how complex you want them to be. If you want every single character that you want to have included be in the foreground and be detail as much have as much detail as possible, it's gonna take a long while. But if you say like you take two characters that are in the foreground and the rest is in the background, then you can just blur the others that are in the background and just give them minor details that other people can make out. Oh, it's that character, and you don't have to spend as much time on them. And the same applies for the background. If you just add a few parts of the background in the foreground and blur the rest that's actually in the back, then you don't have to add as many details to that background. So it really depends on how much you want in the foreground, how much you want in the background, how many details you want included. Um, if I want to draw like a whole mall with a few characters, let's say 5 characters, probably I know if I focus on it every day, probably like, 2 to 3 weeks. But I usually don't do that. I just draw like a few. Sometimes I draw for a few days in a row for a few hours, and then I take a few days break, or just draw once a day, and I take 2 days break. It depends on what other stuff I have to do, but I guess yeah, 2 to 3 weeks, or maybe even over a month for me.
Okay, so to continue on the mall interior stuff, let's say you were to draw your favorite character, Helena, and she's the only one in that mall setting just walking around. And would you take a lot of time to draw walls and ceilings? Are they easy for you, or do you consider them somewhat complicated?
For walls and ceiling, you have to take into consideration the perspective. Um, you need to set down on a perspective, like where does where are things fading in the background. There are a few. There's like a 2 point perspective. I don't know the names of all of them, but there are a few perspective techniques that you can use, and you have to settle down on one. But once you have that down, and now where should things gather, then it shouldn't take too long to draw walls and ceiling and floor and all that.
I see. So, for your case, because you said you're from Germany, you've
Yep.
seen the shopping malls there, right? Would you say anything that you saw there, would it be easy to transfer what you saw onto an artwork?
Mm,
The buildings, I mean. The walls, the ceilings, that stuff.
I guess it wouldn't be too hard. I would take photos, of course, and use them as reference. But uh, well, I guess it's a lot. There are just a lot of um like this where stuff is put upon and people just walk around. So it's like very open space. I don't think it would be too hard.
Well, for like a mall interior setting, would you say it becomes difficult to draw if you want to draw a scene that captures not only the current floor you are on, but let's say the second floor or maybe the bottom floor, depending on where you're standing, of course?
Like you're watching from above and there's like some space where you can see down, something like that.
Oh yeah, I did see a while ago. There was one fan art, an Azraline one, as a matter of fact, where it was a bunch of characters. I believe they were at an airport, And that one, it was on one floor, but it also captured the scene of the second floor, which is typical for airport interior architecture. So I'm not sure if you saw that one though. Later after this interview, I could show you if I could still find it. But yeah, I would say I do agree on the fact that it's going to be difficult depending on what you have planned and how much you want to add into the scene building of the artwork. What else do I want to say about what you have told me? And I think this is where I want to tell you that when it comes to mall interior architecture, it was something that I grew to like because the malls that I've seen from my childhood, I liked the interior architecture that I saw during that time. So this is what I saw again from a personal experience. What they had back then, those malls, they had their own unique style, colors, and the way they look. Whereas today, they like to go into the trend of making everything high class, luxurious looking. So you will see chrome, silver, gray, or white material all over the place. But if you were to ask me, I do prefer what the malls used to look like. And I could tell you, you will not agree with me because you could say the same thing about malls back then, but malls back then, they look way better. The malls now that I've seen, again, the interior architecture, it looks boring, nothing new, no unique taste or feeling. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. Nowadays they're like modern looking, but it's just boring. There's nothing standing out or anything like that.
Yeah, for your experience, does Germany have that kind of stuff for their malls where most of them are luxurious looking, but if you look at media of what they used to look like back then, it wasn't on the luxurious aspect, it was more for everybody, I guess you could say?
I would probably have to look at some photos from back then. One thing in Germany is that some buildings got destroyed during the war, so a lot of things had to be rebuilt, and then were rebuilt in a more modern style compared to what they had before the Second World War or the First.
Oh, but what about anything after the Second World War? I'm pretty sure they could have at least developed some buildings during the Cold War.
Yeah, I guess I am not sure how they looked back then, so I would probably have to look at some photos first to get
Well,
a good idea.
so with the mention of photos, I forgot to mention this is how I came to sum up memories of mall interior architecture on what they used to look like. They're pretty much more or less considered lost media because it depends on what mall you're talking about. Because if you look at how they archive the stuff. So when you take pictures of video, sometimes, or actually, I guess 99% of the cases I've seen, I doubt when it comes to photos and video, they're gonna take every single inch of what the mall used to look like at a certain year. Because from the malls that I've seen, I can look up important parts of the mall. So it could be a water fountain or a certain area, but you're not going to find photos or videos of what the mall used to look like at a certain year, every single inch of the inside. And funny enough, it gets nowhere because if you cannot get into contact with somebody from the companies that own the place and you're just looking around on YouTube or whatever, you're not going to get anywhere. So one time in one of my videos, I was talking about mall interior architecture, and there was one water fountain at a mall called Sherry Gardens, and it was a Japanese style water fountain where it had bamboo, so it would have water going into it and it would cause the bamboo to tip over. And it was a water fountain after all, so you can also throw coins in there. And from what I remember, even as a kid back then, I did find one video of it, and today I can see no trace of that water fountain at all. And I did reach out to somebody on YouTube, and even there, it was all dead ends. There was no trace of that water fountain to this day. Again, it's just all dead ends, unfortunately. So go ahead if you want to tell me anything.
Well, I think it's kind of sad that you lost that water fountain because water fountains are pretty cool. We don't have any water fountains here in the malls, at least in my area.
Yeah, and if I was to because we're comparing our own experiences, the one thing, again, I know this is just a personal experience and not really effective research, but when I ask people from the United States of America, they do have some malls where they didn't always jump on the, oh, let's make everything luxurious looking. I've been told they still hold on to what they used to look like. And when you go there, there's water fountains there. There's still plants and even some shops there as well. And, hopefully I could visit one of those malls one day because I really do miss what those malls or what mall interiors used to look like. And I do admit, those kind of settings, it really does feel like it's for everybody and it feels cozy. And it is true that malls are the place just about everybody goes to when they have nowhere else to go. It was a place everybody can go, families, friends, parents, old people, young people, everybody, right? And today, the one argument that I hear, and again, my stance on this is neutral because I don't know what to say. People feel as if they are left out when it comes to the spending aspect of luxury malls because everything or most of the stuff is costly, and I guess the only places that you could spend money regardless of your income would be the food court. Right? Is that the case for the malls you've seen in Germany?
Yeah, kind of. It's true that they've become more expensive over the years, and a lot of people just opted out to ordering stuff they need from Amazon or whatever instead of just going out to the mall because it became more and more expensive. And actually, the mall over here uh, went bank. I think the government helped them out or the city, so they are still there, but they are not really making any. They're not earning a lot, and the people are not shopping as much anymore there,
Well,
which is
have you
kind of sad.
Well, sorry. Have you seen any malls from your experience that they're still there, but they're not attracting as much customers in comparison to the early years when they opened?
Yeah, basically the one in my city is just yeah, there are less and less people there every year. I'm still going there. I went there to buy some Christmas presents for my family, but yeah, there are not as many people as there used to be a few years ago. There are a lot of people decided, yeah, I'm just gonna stay home and order stuff, and then they got used to that.
The comparison of shopping in person versus shopping online, I understand pros and cons of it. I guess if I want to lean, siding for online shopping is the fact that you get a larger inventory or infinite inventory, if you could say that, on what you want to purchase. Because if you go to a store in person, you are limited as to what you have there. So anything they have on display, they'll tell you, okay, those are your only options. And if you want to buy anything online, they usually give you choices, I believe, where if it's not in the store, you can order it online and pick it up at the store. Or if you want, have them delivered to your home, right? I mean, for me, I would rather just go online anyway. But yeah, I do understand the perspectives and arguments about what malls used to be and what malls are now. But moving on, right? I want to ask you something. And then this question I want to ask, it's more of a YouTubers kind of thing, but I'm not sure about artists. So here we go. Enjoy this question. Do you have an upload schedule, or do you prefer to upload whenever you feel like it?
I'm actually just uploading whenever I finish the piece, which is usually around 4 a.m. my time, which is pretty bad. Yeah, right now I'm just staying home the whole time because I'm done with university classes. I'm just sitting up the home and have to study for the upcoming exams. So usually just if I draw, I'll draw deep into the night and then I finish the piece and I upload it immediately, basically.
Have you ever considered the idea of uploading on a consistent schedule?
Yeah, I did. Um, I Some friends told me that I should probably not upload at the time I am uploading, but later because it would get more attention. But I'm kind of too lazy to set it up.
But have you tried it though right? Like you tried uploading at a certain time. You tried it, right? Sorry if I missed that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I tried it.
But has it worked out for you at those kind of times?
It actually did get a bit more attention. It was just one piece, so I can't really draw a lot of conclusions, but it actually worked out.
Yeah, and from looking at your profile, you upload on Twitter and you also upload on PixieV, right? I'm not sure, and forgive me if I pronounced that website wrong, but that website, does it have a function where you can upload a drawing, selecting what time and day you want to upload it?
Yeah, that's actually part of the premium package, I think.
Oh, okay, premium package. But if you're a regular user, you don't have that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I can take a quick look. Let me see.
Oh, okay. Did you find it?
Okay, I'm not sure if it's premium or not. It doesn't say, but I have premium, so I can do it. But yeah, you
Okay.
can schedule.
So,
You can select um, you can select every half an hour.
oh, okay. So, whatever works for you, for me, it shouldn't be surprising to hear I prefer uploading videos whenever I want. Okay, so similar to you. I did try to go with a consistent upload schedule some time ago, multiple times as a matter of fact, but I found myself going away from the said consistent schedule because I just wanted to get my video out there and I didn't want to wait it out. Plus, the idea of a consistent upload schedule, it's more or less something everyone is aware of at this point about it being something you shouldn't do because it really doesn't make a difference. Do you agree with that or no?
Uh, I'm I'm not sure. I, I guess if you're big enough, it kind of makes a difference. So because you will have a lot of following and people will get used to that time. And if you're say you're streaming, for example, then you have a schedule and people can prepare to watch your stream. But if you're just doing like videos or drawing, it really doesn't make a lot of difference, I guess.
Well, I could tell you from what I've seen and experienced, it does make sense that you have to upload at a certain time because it depends on your audience, right? So if you're uploading for your time zone, that works too. That works. But if you're uploading, let's say, 3 a.m. and your audience is in Canada and in the United States, obviously that's not going to get anywhere out there. On YouTube or just uploading videos, it can really depend because from a gaming experience, let's say something new comes out and you upload the video on day one, the game is on sale on Steam or Xbox, whatever. Of course, you have the chance of your video going viral or gaining some traction from a lot of people. So, for example, right now, or I guess I could say a few weeks ago, whatever, I don't know, I forgot. Okay, Project Wingman's Frontline 59 campaign.
I don't know the campaign myself.
Okay,
I haven't
so,
played it.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just haven't played the game, so I don't know the story.
Okay, so the Frontline 59 campaign, it's a campaign that takes place during and before some of the missions. I don't want to go into that much detail. So that one originally was PlayStation exclusive. So that upset the mouse and keyboard PC player base. And it was sometime this month, hopefully got that right, where they finally decided, okay, let's get this DLC to the computer base of the fan base. And when I uploaded my video of the first mission and when everybody else did, I was one of the lucky ones that got good views on the video, which is nice. And I'm pretty sure what I'm saying right now about uploading day one of a game's public release, you can see this for yourself. So I'm not sure what games you play, but if I wanted to take Ezra Lane, for example, let's say it's day one of a new event. Of course, you're going to gain some traction here and there, with or without sharing on places like Reddit. And especially for a fan base as big as Ezra Lane, or a game it's more, I guess you could say, easy and not as crazy and wild like a first-person shooter game. As long as it's not like that, you're gonna get people who are open to watching your videos. And if you're uploading a first-person shooter game like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo, I'm not gonna judge. and you're just gonna upload, okay, no commentary, a match from the start all the way to the finish, goodbye, whatever, I don't know. You're not gonna get any views unless by some luck, by the algorithm, right? What else do I? Let's see. If you're a large YouTuber, yeah, anything works for a large YouTuber because they can do anything really. They can upload, let's say, what I've just said, a match from the beginning to the end, and then that's it. No commentary whatsoever. They still get views. And I do understand, you got to work for it because you cannot just do the same boring stuff or what people considered boring. Because I myself, I did try modding for Project Wingman, and it was nice that I picked up a new skill and people saw my videos, and I did get some nice comments where they would tell me, okay, that's cool, Essex, IFFs for Project Wingman, yeah. Okay, so moving on to another question. I think I asked you this already, but what do you find difficult currently when it comes to drawing?
Oh yeah, right. I just said what I only said what I found hard in the beginning. Right now, I've probably shading. Like a lot of the time, I'm still like I'm setting the direction where the light comes from, but I'm having problems applying the shadows correctly. So some shadows are just not placed correctly, or sometimes I'm oversaturating the color of the shadow. Like in my latest drawing, I asked a good friend who is a big artist for some feedback, and she told me, yeah, the body is way too oversaturated on red. You should use some more gray color, not gray, bluish shadow because the sky is blue, and it kind of influences how all shadows work. And I should make the eyes darker because and use less saturation. So instead of pink, I should use violet for the shade of the eye and stuff like that. So I'm still having a lot of problems getting the shade right. And I also noticed I uploaded a whip uh, of the drawing, one completely without shading and the finished version with all the shading. And the finished version did worse than the work in progress. I mean, both did well, which was really nice. I was really happy, but it was kind of funny that the finished version was doing less. Kind of like my shading actually made it worse. So that's something I actually want to work on and improve.
Okay, so if you were to ask me the question, I would go with references and official information on characters because sometimes information is just not there to begin with. So, for example, and this is going to sound really familiar, I'm pretty sure you would know it yourself, is the fact that character references, and I'm talking about specific information, okay, such as characters from Ezra Lane and Girls Frontline, they have little to no info on how tall each of the characters are. There are some pieces of information for the Ezra Lane characters, but I'm not sure about Girls Frontline. Because when you ask around or even ask people to analyze how tall they are, the Ezra Lane characters and Girls Frontline characters, they seem pretty tall. And so even when it comes to fan art, it is, I guess you could say, there can be inconsistencies on how people draw the characters. Some looking taller than others, for example. So it's like a decent guess on character height. But I want to ask another question about drawing, which is what misconceptions did you have about drawing? And even today, do any of these misconceptions stick with you today? I also want to know if there are any misconceptions you have about growing your drawing skills.
I guess one was at the very beginning. I thought I couldn't do it. I thought I would try it for a bit and then just give up because I'm not good enough. I don't have the skill. I don't have the talent. But I figured out actually everyone can get into drawing and get good at drawing. It's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work. But everyone can do it. I thought like a lot of people say, yeah, I don't have the talent. I'm just not gonna bother with it, and I don't have the time. And I do get the time argument, but yeah, if you put enough time into it, anyone can become a good artist, which is which is pretty nice actually. anyone can do it if they put the time into it.
Yeah,
And
so to grow your skills as an artist, right? Did you ever find yourself, you were like really impatient about it, like you just want to be at a higher level already, or were you that more patient? You just stuck with the flow.
yeah, sometimes, actually a lot of times, I'm trying to draw something, and then I look at it, and it just doesn't look good, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying anything I can, but I just can't make it look good, and it's really a skill issue. Just not experienced enough to get it better. And then yeah, you have to be patient. You can get everything look perfectly the first time.
Yeah, I want to bring up something in comparison to what you said. So, when it comes to video games, across your typical FPS games, there's always that one weapon that's going to be difficult to learn. And, when I actually paid attention to this, especially looking at how bad I was, and possibly still am if I ever go back, when it comes to, let's say, the Deagle in Counter Strike Global Offensive, or the Kraber in Titanfall 2, and whatever high damage pistols that game had, I noticed, and I couldn't describe it anywhere or any way else, is the fact that it feels like it's like a psychological effect. Once you realize, okay, your character in the game is now holding out a weapon that's difficult to use. For some reason, I have difficulty, just using him, and I'm just telling myself, why? Just go, and I just miss all my shots, even when I'm trying to maintain discipline, whatever the case is. But then all of a sudden, if I switch back to a easy to use weapon, oh, suddenly my brain is like, okay, this is easy to use, no problem there. And stuff like that did make me think, okay, what would happen if I was to, be good at modding the game, switch out the models for the hard and easy weapons? Maybe that would trick my brain into thinking, oh, it's just any weapon, just use it, and then you actually can get good at the game. But it's not to say I've tried to use those weapons. I did. It took time, obviously, for the Kraber, which is the sniper rifle in Titanfall 2. I tried it. I had my good moments here and there, but Titanfall 2 isn't a game I play anymore. Even if I was to go back to it, like one time I realized, okay, all of this is the reasons, all of these problems, whatever, or whatever the case is the reason I left the game. So let's move on to some other games there are on Steam. And okay, time to get to the next damn question. Do you have any next steps or goals on improving as an artist? And if you like to, you are free to mention an artist as an example.
I mean, a big goal obviously is being able to draw from my imagination, like not completely abandoning references or anything. That would be a bad idea, and a lot of artists told me that they still using references even with years of experience. I kind of want to take a reference and then just change it up more, change the positioning and everything, and just be able to do it instead of trying to draw the body and then see, yeah, looks completely like an abomination, and all the limbs are off.
Yeah, okay. So the mention of references again, and that does remind me of something, is the fact that I keep saying the fact that, okay, whatever. When it comes to providing those references to an artist to draw something for you, right? I notice, and look, I understand it's their way, so I'm not gonna disrespect them on that. I'm not saying it in a bad way, of course, but some artists, they strictly ask, okay, I want you to provide me references, or else my brain is gonna shut off. Okay, I understand that, and it does remind me though, even as somebody who is the one, being the customer and telling the artist, okay, I want you to draw this, I want you to draw that, I want you to draw Essex running up a mountain. Okay, whatever, I don't know. I do go out of my way and actually, try to create the references myself in Source Filmmaker, where I would take a model. I'm not putting that much effort, but I will try my best. That way, the artist will actually get the details correct. So if it's a character, holding a hammer and swinging it at somebody, okay, I will try to do that in Source Filmmaker. And it turns out, okay, it's really effective because I don't provide, source filmmaker created images anymore, because even I found that stuff to be tiring because I suck at that stuff. When you ask an artist to do something and you provide them with a reference, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, because I'm just talking about what I've seen. I could provide a reference image, and then I would tell them, okay, instead of this character running to the left, I want you to draw that character running to the right. And the reference image shows the character running to the left. And then when I get the sketch phase, which is the sketch preview, they would draw the character running to the left, and I would respectfully tell the artist, no, I want you to draw the character running towards the right. And then they're like, oh, okay, sorry about that. I've seen this a lot in a lot of artists. And look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, okay? I'm not an artist myself, so if they want to talk badly about me and my opinion, that's fine. But I think they need to take their time and pay attention after all. Look, even as someone like me who is a customer who has commissioned artwork to artists, look, I understand you got a schedule to go with. Not every artist has the same schedule. Some take longer than others. So take your time and read through everything. Read through what the customer wants, right? If I want Essex running over a mountain instead of running through a forest, okay, that's fine, right? But when I provide a lot of things, just take your time, please. It's no big deal. It's no rush. Enjoy, using your talent, right? After all, you're the artist, not me. And okay, moving on to the next question. But wait, actually, hold that thought. If you were the artist yourself and you take commissions, would you strictly ask for references or not? Or are you okay with the fact that I can describe what I want to you?
Okay, so for myself personally, I would prefer the more references, the better. So if you just give me a perfectly detailed description of what you want, that would probably be the best for me. But I know some artists, they feel more at ease if they are more free to do whatever they like. But I personally think the more details you give me, the better, and then I can also just send you all the. I'll do my best to draw it exactly like you described and send you the sketch. And if anything's off, this can easily be changed because it's still a sketch. There's not much. It's not hard to change stuff.
Yeah, because that does remind me. Again, I've seen some artists where they strictly ask for references, but then again, I think a lot of artists do forget, and especially for gacha games, or you don't get a lot of official skins where the characters are wearing just casual skins. Because in Azure Lane, for example, you have some casual skins for Enterprise, and I think there is one for Essex, if that counts, the one where she's with her motorcycle. But for all the other characters, casual skins are not there, so it would be difficult to ask someone, oh, draw this character in a casual, wear, just a regular t-shirt, pants, socks, shoes, a hat, sunglasses, but then you're met with the response, no references. Okay, obviously I would be respectful and say, okay, I'll ask a different artist, right? After all, it's their way of doing things. If they don't want me to describe something or change off of what is out there, it's their thing. It's their choice at the end of the day. So moving on to a fun question now. Given that you are drawing Helena for the most part, as from what I've seen, would you consider making more drawings featuring characters such as Essex from Azure Lane? And can you tell me the possibility of drawing manga or multi-panel drawings or characters from other series or games?
Yeah, I actually do want to draw more characters. So Helena is my absolute favorite, of course, but she's not the only ship girl I like. There are a few others, and I do want to draw them if I have the time and feel like it. And actually, for Essex, some other guy on Twitter, you probably know him, asked me if I can draw her, and I'll
Yeah.
probably do it sometime in the new year when I have time. Yeah, you can look forward to that.
Well, is it more than one artwork, or are you just sticking with one idea? Because I think I did ask you before about you're taking suggestions now or later, and I told you some ideas, right? And then you were like, okay, that's cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely most. I like the idea that he gave me, so I probably want to do that first. But what you gave me was also good. It's just harder. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
your
understand.
ideas were more, your ideas were more passionate and bigger.
It
So if
was the. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just kind of want to improve more and do it when I have more time and feel like it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I understand.
eventually I'll do it. And for comics or something like that, I also want to do that eventually. But
But
that
then again, when it comes to taking suggestions, do you currently have a lot lined up, or is it just not much?
right now I have one drawing lined up that is it's not a commission or anything, it's an exchange basically. Like that artist drew something for me, so I'm going to draw something for them.
Oh, that's quite
And
nice,
yep, I actually wanted to pay them for them, but they said,
right?
"Nah, don't give me money. Just draw this girl for me." And I was like,
Okay.
"Hey, that's a good idea."
Okay, but then again, I mentioned multi-panel drawings or manga or comics, whatever you want to call it. Do you personally think multi-panel stuff is a lot of work or something you don't want to do, or no? Because I know one artist that I did talk with. She did mention that she doesn't do that kind of stuff because it's a lot more work for her, which I respect, of course.
It depends. If you look at some of those manga panels, you can actually see that a lot of them don't they aren't as detailed as like an illustration. So
Well, I understand. Sorry to interrupt, but I
yeah,
understand it's a lot more work because you're scene building a lot of things. But as long as I would say, as long as it's not all over the place or they're not asking for like an entire book, it shouldn't be that much, right? Because, for example, I did commission some of that stuff before, and it featured Essex. No, not Essex. It featured Intrepid from Ezra Lane. And then it also featured Executioner from Girls Frontline. In the scene building, it wasn't much for the artist to draw. It was basically just Executioner chopping stuff on a chopping block. And then Intrepid comes in and says, hey, you're not supposed to chop that fast, right? We have a rule here. Look at the sign. So that one, I'm pretty sure if you share that artwork around and ask, is it a lot of work for you if you want to try drawing something like that? I think most, not all, would say, yeah, it's not too much because, the scene's not that in detail. It's not too much going on, right?
yeah, I agree. Like if you draw comics, you can just take a lot of shortcuts. Like most of the time, you're not drawing characters uh, full body. You're just drawing like the whole body, and you're not going a lot into detail. There's not a lot of you don't have to do a lot of shading, just basic shading, and it will still work out. It will still look good, and well, the comic part is the main part of it, basically.
Oh, yeah, of course. But then again, I stand on the opinion that it always depends on what you want to put in the scene building aspect, right? Because as long as there's not much going on and you're asking for a ton of props for the scene, it's not going to be that much work, right? Because as I said, if it's just characters against a simple background, that shouldn't be too much. If there's something like a table and a computer, that shouldn't be much either, right? Because I'm pretty sure a computer, depending on what you want to show, is just the monitor, the mouse and keyboard, and then that's it. And depending on what goes on in the scene and what your script is, you don't have to draw the computer tower. And moving on to my next question, how did you end up choosing the art style that works for you? How difficult would you say it was to maintain your art style consistently?
Well, the thing right now is I'm still trying out a lot of different things. So I'm not always keeping to the same techniques I'm using basically, and still trying out new stuff. But basically I just watch some YouTube videos on like hair shading, and then try to follow that, and then one for doing eyes, and try to follow that because I like them, and that's kind of how I focused on like how I narrowed down my style. And also, I guess some part of it is um, my friends. Like I already told you, I'm asking my friends for feedback, and they sent me their art as a reference, basically. Like, yeah, you can do it like that and that, and then I'll also do it like that, and that also kind of influences me.
I see. Um, well, when you're starting out as a new artist, how many days, if you could remember, did it take for you to finally get the hang of doing something consistently? Because I'm not an artist, so I would imagine myself, if I even try to draw with color and shading, I might accidentally go off into a different art style. So you tell me if there's anything I got wrong about that.
Um, I guess if you try something new out and you like it, then probably won't take too long to get used to it. But if you're just kind of playing around, then it can happen that it will take a long time to settle down on one particular way to draw it.
Okay, but then again, for you, do you recall at all how many days, months, or years it took for you to lock into the one style and go from there?
I guess something that I'm probably not going to change a lot anymore is how I draw eyes. And uh, I guess that took a few, like maybe 2 months, something like that. I'm still playing around a bit, but I don't think I'll much change it up much anymore. So yeah, maybe a month, 2 months. It also depends on how difficult it is to do something. Like uh, yeah, let's take drawing heads for example. I think it's called the Loomis method to drawing heads. That's basically one of the first things I learned, and I'm still using. And it took some time to get used to it, but basically you have to draw heads all the time. So it's one of the first things you learn, and I guess I got the hang of it in like 3 weeks, something like that, and you could do it reliably without having to change the sketch all the time. Like, oh no, this doesn't look good. Oh, I need to change this thing.
Yeah,
So
so to tie into something similar, when it comes to YouTube videos, you're gonna see sometimes YouTubers changing stuff around on how they keep a consistent format. So, for example,
yeah,
any intros or outros, you will see if you look at how they started and what they changed over time at some point. Sometimes, it's not the same visual intro that they have or what they say. How I used to make commentary videos, it was just the visual intro that I filmed on a Halo 3 map. And then from there, I would say, oh, hello everybody, this is Dragon Actual. And then after that, I incorporated something that I've seen YouTubers do where before they have the visual intro, they would say something at the beginning. So I did that. But then when I look around and I see how my videos perform, I realized, okay, at that point, because I have the visual intro already, saying it in a verbal way, it's going to be excessive and useless because the viewers already got the point with the visual intro. So it's better to just go to the point in the video and talk about what you want to talk about from there. I've seen this with some gaming channels. I don't even recall all of them or if any of them still do, but you just start your video by saying, okay, today is a fun day in Call of Duty. This is so cool. And then in another video, you could say something like, okay, wow, this Battlefield map is so fun. Let's jump right into it. I don't care, blah, 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 blah. Better, especially if you're just making a gaming video or a commentary video, it's better to just jump right into the point. And have you ever heard of anything about making YouTube videos, especially commentary or gaming videos?
well, on the topic of intros, I what I did notice is that back then, like a few years ago, a lot
Yeah,
of people had like really long intros. They played their logo, they had the music and everything.
right.
And nowadays, people just start the video without much introduction.
Yeah, which is nothing wrong, right? But what you have mentioned there, okay, it's because the intro was long. For those visual intros, people just want to see something shorter to get to the point. And I understand what you're talking about, where they have a logo or their alias, and the song is playing for 10 seconds or even more. I know that. I know that. But you've seen how I've done my visual intro, right?
Yep.
It's just the camera facing downwards, and then it just flies upwards and then back to the center and above the bridge on this Halo 3 map that I don't even remember what it's called at all, because I haven't played Halo 3 or paid attention to it for a long time. Okay, so moving on to the next question, and this is going to be a question I think it's going to be difficult for you. What about the possibility of an artwork, but it's done in collaboration with another artist? It's an idea that's rare, but please tell me what you think of this idea, and do you plan on doing something like that?
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, I've seen some artists do it, and I'm not opposed to the idea, but like I still consider myself like a beginner, and it does take me some time to get started and set everything up, and I need to correct stuff all the time. And I actually tried drawing together with a friend, and like he's way more advanced than me, and he just started drawing. He had a whole sketch up, and I was still thinking about what I should do, and only did like like a head or something, and he had the whole thing up already, and
Right.
I got kind of dismotivated.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe in the future.
but what you guys did, was it really a collaboration where, okay, you do one thing and then you pass the artwork to me and I'll add the other things on my end?
No, what we did was set up an online canvas
Oh yeah.
where both could draw at the same time.
Oh, okay, something like that. Because when I think of collaboration, I was thinking about, okay, we're just passing the file back and forth. I do part one, which is the line art, and then part two, you're coloring it, and then back and forth, a bunch of other stuff. Both of us contributing our share of the project. So thanks for telling me how you've done it, which was a live canvas. So with the idea of drawing or creating artwork, I think you've heard of programs such as Blender and Source Filmmaker. So the question is, would you consider trying out these programs as a way to create artwork?
Maybe, yeah, in the future. Right now, I don't want to use too many programs because, uh, well, you have to get used to all those programs. I'm still learning a lot of drawing itself. I'm still not perfect in Krita, what I'm using right now. So I'm being careful with all new programs. I can I can imagine using them in the future, and I can start getting used to them slowly, but I don't want to overload myself right now.
Okay, so you understand when it comes to Blender and Source Filmmaker, these programs, you're not really drawing, depending on what your plan is. You more or less are, you're taking models and you're posing them. Again, it depends on your skill level and what you're doing. So the reason I asked you that question is because, from my experience, to create artwork with those programs, depending on what you are going for, okay, it's easier than drawing as long as you are using models available out there already for anybody to download. Basically, you skip the step of creating the models, as I said earlier, or even extracting the models from a game or online website. But I'm not sure if that step would be considered more difficult than drawing, because again, it depends if you're gonna make the models yourself. And I'm going back and forth. Oh my god. So to provide an example that's easy, and I've done something similar as well. If you wanted to have a full shot of Master Chief from the Halo games, standing on a Team Fortress 2 map, carrying the battle rifle. That would be too easy given the overall idea. And the important factor, in my opinion, is the fact that you can locate a Master Chief model just about everywhere you look. And I think he is the main priority for a lot of extractors, where if it's a Halo game we are talking about, the main priority right there is to extract the Master Chief model from that game. And to be an expert on creating artwork with such programs at an advanced level, it's similar to the expertise on building a computer or performing maintenance on a vehicle, which is the more you know how to do it yourself, it's going to be easier because you aren't seeking assistance. So the first step, again, if you can extract any models you are looking for, you pretty much have step one solved. And again, at an advanced level, you are also using an image editor as well. Just take a look around, and I believe most would tell you they use Blender or Source Filmmaker. Then they would add some lighting and anything, any visuals extra on the piece with image editing programs such as Photoshop. And I can tell you, I've looked around and it does appear most Source Filmmaker artists, they do know how to extract models themselves. And I'll be honest, I have developed the opinion that if you don't know how to extract models yourselves and you're just limiting yourself to whatever is already done by other people, you're not gonna get much customers. If anybody wants to ask to be your customer and say, okay, can you make this for me? And then they realize, oh, you only take what's out there, you don't extract things yourself, and I'll go somewhere else. You know, it's just what I've seen, right? I have commissioned Source Filmmaker stuff, and when it came to stuff like Titanfall, I'm pretty sure something like that, to extract models, it's easy. Plus, a lot of the important stuff, popular stuff in Titanfall, it's already out there, but when it comes to Titanfall, models such as vehicles, that's a lot more difficult to find. And if you've paid attention to what I've said on Twitter, there's one thing in Titanfall I tried to ask around, but everyone would tell me it's a dead end and just move on and you're just not interested. So is there anything you want to add?
Well, it does tie around to commissioning artists, and they need references or else they can't work on it.
Well, I mean, actually, yes, it is about references because you're telling the artist who or what you want involved in the scene building. So if you want a vehicle in your scene build and you're asking an artist who, respectfully speaking, only takes models from what's available online, as an artist, you're not going to get anywhere, right? And as a customer, you're going to be, well, disappointed. So again, just know the process for this type of artwork can be seen as easier than drawing. So if you want, you could take a look at Source Filmmaker because I found that one to be easy for myself. So sorry to take the spotlight for a long time, but to close off this section about artwork, I wanted to ask this important question. I originally wanted to ask Budgiepon, an artist who is known to draw fan art of characters from Code Geass, mostly drawings of C2. The question isn't really a question, but here's the statement. When it comes to in-depth detail, I tend to have the assumption, which is to draw the Spartans, the ODSTs, or just the human soldiers from the Halo games, it seems easy because, at a glance, they do not appear to wear armor with complex camouflage patterns or detail. It's more along the lines of a singular color across the entire set. So, you are the artist, and you tell me why my assumption is wrong, and use your knowledge on drawing and tell me your counter arguments.
So your assumption was that it's easy to draw them because they are not wearing complex armor?
Well, yeah, because as I said, their armor isn't that crazy on detail, and it's usually just a single color, right? For the most part.
I probably would have to look at them again at pictures to be to be clear if they're really hard to draw or not. But If they are really just if they look easy to draw, then they are probably easy to draw.
Well, could you draw Master Chief?
Probably it. Um, I mean, I haven't tried drawing something like that at all. Like I haven't drawn guys before. I've only drawn girls, and I haven't drawn armor. Like
Right.
I've only drawn normal clothes, but I think with some practice, I probably could do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Because, when it comes to Halo stuff, there's a lot to draw. So you could also try drawing the Marines if you want, because it's a good practice if you care about practicing drawing faces going along with the armor set. What else? Other than characters, you could probably draw the vehicles, or not, no, not vehicles, those robots that are on the Halo rings. So if you haven't played Halo or paid attention to what it has, on the Halo rings there are installation monitors and enforcers and all these kinds of robotic robots that are still there for a long time, and most of them are of small size and not too big. So I think that could be good practice for you if you don't want to draw any of the living characters. Just something robotic would be cool. And on the Halo rings they have these those Halo monitors, such as 343 Guilty Spark. Those cubes, I think that one would be easy for you. I think you know what that is, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, those cubes that watch over the ring that they are assigned to. It's just a cube with a circular light source.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, I really haven't tried drawing uh like anything mechanical, something like that. But I well, I guess it's different from persons, but if you have a good understanding of shapes, it shouldn't be too hard. I don't know if my understanding of shapes is good enough, but it's good practice for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure drawing a cube would be easy for you. Yeah, I know. Okay, so that was a lot to bring up around drawing. So for the rest of this interview now, it's time to bring up other things. So once again, time for another question. What types of games do you enjoy? And also bring up the titles if you can.
Right now I'm playing a lot of World of Warcraft Classic with friends. I don't know if you know about it, but they brought out new servers again, where everything starts from fresh.
Okay.
And my friends only got into it recently. I've played it for a long time already, and it's a lot of fun to play together, especially since they're still learning, and they are having a lot of fun. And it's also a lot of fun for me to play with them and play a game I enjoy. And aside from that, I also played World of Warships, which you could have probably guessed because of warships.
Yep.
And I like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, those kind of games.
Right.
I played a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from just video games, I also like playing D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, which it's not a video game, it's a tabletop. And I'm playing that with friends online.
I see. So what about any first-person games?
Um,
Battlefield, Halo, COD, that stuff.
I played them occasionally,
Right.
but not a lot.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
blame you. Okay. So that's interesting in comparison to what you brought up. I admit, I am picky on what genres to try. It should be very obvious from what I've posted on YouTube. The minimum has to be an action video game, either in the first or third person perspective. I understand there's some negatives to those types of games, and I would not deny any of them at all. But I have been open to some things, such as Halo Infinite and The First Descendant. Both of them have a degree in open world mechanics. So some open world stuff here and there, blah, 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 blah. So to take Halo Infinite as the first example, I was referring to the fact I did try out the campaign, which was a good experience after all. It was nice to have the ring to myself as a vast playground, whereas the First Descendant involved RPG-like elements. But for the multiplayer aspect, if you were to ask me about comparing Halo Infinite with other games, I wouldn't deny it would be very back and forth comparing them at all, because when it comes to Halo versus other shooter games, I'm not denying there's pros and cons, or what is done in one game can be seen as bad to those who play in another game. For example, this isn't just Halo Infinite, or the other Halo games, or some of them, they don't have sprint. So you're pretty much walking around and jumping around, and then that's it. If you're coming from Battlefield or Call of Duty where there is sprint, it's definitely gonna feel different. You're going into a game where something is different and you have to get used to it. When I started out playing Halo, it was, and I'm pretty sure to anyone watching who plays Halo and is obviously better than me, when I tried the AR in the game, and that was in Halo 3, and people were telling me, you know, that weapon, you're not supposed to really use it, right? Especially in multiplayer, which of course I had to give in, and then I realized, okay, so that's how you enjoy the game. You toss out this weapon and then you pick up something else which is actually better. So hopefully that's a nice warning for you in case you want to play any of the Halo games, right? Do you want to play Halo?
Actually, yeah, I do want to try them sometime.
Do you have a specific preference as to which game you want?
No, if you can recommend one to start with.
Well, oh my goodness. If you care at all, I guess you could try Halo 3 because that's the first Halo game I've played.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on that game, so I enjoyed it. But, for me, I prefer the big team battle game mode. It's pretty much where both teams have more players, which is 8v8 in Halo 3.
That sounds pretty cool, actually, like those kind of modes.
Yeah, other than that, if you want to try Halo Infinite, that one has 8v8 as well, but its main game mode has 12v12, so it's going to be a lot bigger, especially the maps.
Alright.
Yeah, what would you think makes fictional media such as anime, video games, or films good?
I guess if you can kind of escape into them, like we are all living in reality and it's kind of boring.
Other than that, actually.
Okay. Like kind of gameplay, something like that.
Well, I'm bringing up video games or like the world,
Like world
Battlefield, like a dystopian future, whatever it is, something like that, scary world.
Well, I guess I like the world building of fantasy games the most, or fantasy anime.
So you prefer those medieval kind of settings?
Yeah.
Or a setting where technology progressing isn't necessary because you got magic to cover it and to make your life easier. That's something I noticed a lot in fantasy or isekai anime, where when they're in a world where technology isn't industrialized or advanced, they make up for it with magic. It does make sense because, the idea of believing in magic was a thing in those kinds of time periods of humanity, right? But here's what I find interesting when it comes to the worlds of anime, video games, or even films. It's the lore, but I want to say what makes it more interesting would be reading up about what goes on in that world. And to bring up my commentary video again, where I talk about Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, where it's not just about a conflict, but alongside the conflict also deals with the anomaly of the coral substance. And an example from anime, you have, but again, not limited to, and here's my favorite anime, Code Geass, where you have conflicts going on in that world, but alongside the conflicts, there's also an anomaly that exists, which is Geass. And there's a good amount of lore building as well, obviously, in explaining, okay, what Geass is, what it does, and how it affects a person. I'm pretty sure you heard of that anime, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have. But, for me, I do admit, though, when I got into Code Geass, it wasn't back when it was released in the early days. Okay, it was somewhere around 2015, actually, where I actually got into Code Geass. And then from there, I enjoyed it. And then my interest, of course, it didn't really just die off, though, because I was exploring around other anime as well. And then, I got into gaming even more during that time. The thought about Code Geass faded off. And then it was around 2019 or the fourth quarter of 2018, where I'm hearing about a Code Geass movie called Lelouch of the Resurrection. And that one, of course, and just like any other stuff after that, it follows the recap alternate universe timelines. So I was really surprised. Okay, wow, they actually came back and created more stuff for the series, even though it's an alternate universe kind of stuff. It's still content right then and there. So I myself was really surprised. I got really interested in the series once again. And of course, I've met a lot of people online who actually enjoy the series. And, some of them I still keep in contact to this day. Moving on, would you like to share anything about video games, especially from your childhood?
From my childhood.
Yeah.
I guess yeah, when I guess Pokemon is the best example. When I was little, we moved to where I live now, and my neighbor was he's a good friend of mine now. We were friends for a long time, and he had Pokemon installed on his Game Boy, and I had no games myself, but I visited him every day. We just played Pokemon together all the time, and eventually he actually managed to get it on his PC on an emulator, and yeah, we just spent every day playing Pokemon basically. It's kind of funny how much time we could get out of this game because I mean it's not really an infinite game. You're gonna beat it eventually, but
Did you guys
kind of
also
felt like
trade
we played only.
Pokemon
Uh,
and do the quests and stuff, the events?
yeah, so we couldn't trade because we could only one could play at a time.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did basically everything we could. We tried out different teams and everything. It was a lot of fun. And eventually I got my first console, the DS,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo DS, and I got my first Pokemon game myself. And I spent so much time playing it all day. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It kind of formed a childhood.
Awesome. So, for myself, this was the case where I mostly played video games on the Nintendo DS, Nintendo Wii, and I think similar to most, I didn't play much games that were solely created for computers because during that time, I did not have a computer built for video games. So it was like that with me and others where we enjoyed games on handheld devices or consoles. I had lots of cases where I mostly enjoyed COD games on console, where I would go to a friend's house and take turns, playing the games and stuff like that, or even playing, multiplayer in a private match. And I'm not sure about you, but from my experience amongst those I've knew, the amount of people who played games on computers were outnumbered by those who played on console or even handheld devices. But again, what people considered a gaming computer back then, it's obviously different, and I should have asked him about the computer that he had, because his computer back at that time, he could run games such as the Battlefield games during those years. But from what I could conclude just from what I remember, and it's what his computer looked like, it wasn't anything gaming looking, especially with today's standards. But that could just be due to the games he played, where they did not require computer specs to be that demanding or wild. But I want to say is that back at that time, I think you would meet a lot of people where, again, it's gaming on consoles or handheld devices. And, to meet this one friend in your class who had a gaming computer, it was rare, right? Especially for you.
Yeah, it was pretty rare that anyone had a gaming PC. I don't think any of my friends had one back then. Like the friend I played Pokemon with, his PC was just it wasn't his PC, it was his parents' PC.
Oh, okay.
It was just a normal PC, and it could run the emulator, and that was it basically.
I mean, any person that you meet, in your school or whatever, did word ever get around that, that person did have something that was considered the gaming computer of those times? Or was it
Uh,
impossible to even find a person in your school or amongst friends that had one?
I don't remember anyone having a gaming PC, I think.
Oh, okay. So that's different from my experience because um, I did know, I think it was one or a few that had a computer that could run games, but of course, those computers that died out. I'm not even sure that they still have the same one or they just got a new one eventually, right? And what else do I have to say? So, what about anime and manga? Is there any other series that you want to talk about?
I guess for favorite manga, I really enjoyed Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you probably know it. I don't know if you have read it.
I've heard of it.
The author sadly died, I think, like 2 years ago. But his apprentice continued it, I think. But I haven't read anything new from that. But I really enjoyed the world building, especially in that. It's a pretty brutal
Right.
manga. Like there's a lot of blood, gore, but yeah, I really enjoyed reading it. It hooked me completely.
But
Read
have you ever
even
came
till it night.
across? Sorry to interrupt, but have you ever came across a series where it talks about the involvement of dealing with anomalies,
Uh,
something magical or something like that?
yep. I mean, going back to Berserk, uh, it's like it's set in this medieval world, but
Right?
then suddenly it all gets shaken up basically by demons. I guess they're demons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like until a certain point was just all medieval. Uh, Normal people, the best they could do was like train and be very strong, and then suddenly those huge demon creatures came out of nowhere. Everyone died. No one knew what was going on and stuff like that. It was kind of kind of insane, I guess. But yeah, I do like just anything that has like supernatural stuff in it,
Yeah.
like like you said.
Okay, so again, I am open to current generation of anime and manga, but I do have lines to draw as well. But when it comes to waiting for anime adaptations for anything, okay, let's see. I am waiting for the final arcs of Demon Slayer to be animated. That's one thing. Anything I want to try to dial back on, I would say maybe it's isekai animes because I think there's a lot of them out there already and
Yeah.
for a while, so I want to find something else to watch. There is stigma around some folks who watch anime only, right? I'm pretty sure you heard of that joke. And you don't have to worry about me. I've read the manga for a lot of the series that I've watched, and yeah, I did enjoy them, especially with how even in manga it shows stuff in great detail too. And going back to my favorite anime, which is Code Geass, even though stuff now is following the recap timeline, I still want to watch them because of the chance characters that are from the original R1, R2 make an appearance. I'm not sure if you know, but in the Rose of the Recapture series, which was the most recent piece of media for the Code Geass anime, again in the recap timeline, they did feature the characters that appeared in the original R1 and R2, but only for a few seconds on screen. I do admit, though, that idea of them showing up again was the sole reason I watched that particular media of Code Geass in the first place. And now for a video game related question for you. Which game's campaign did you enjoy? And just before you answer, here's a heads up. It doesn't have to be your number one favorite video game.
Okay, there are quite a few, but uh, one you already mentioned was Armored Core 6.
Yep.
That was one I really enjoyed. I really liked that one. And yeah, I had a lot of. It wasn't very long, but I had a lot of fun playing it, and it had different endings. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to play. And I really enjoyed the story.
Oh, Armored Core 6. For that particular game, did you get stuck on that helicopter boss like everybody
Yeah,
else?
yeah,
Same with me. Because when I was stuck on that boss, I did take the time to actually go on YouTube and look up how to defeat the boss. And for myself, this isn't my number one favorite campaign out there, but for the Halo games, I did enjoy Halo 2, or I guess in a more modern case, Halo 2A. It's one of the games where I enjoyed the campaign over its multiplayer. Okay, so for the campaign, I do like the fact it shared the same design of Combat Evolved, where its paths are complicated, so you can get lost easily, and depending on where you are, there could be one or two tunnels or pathways in comparison to what Halo 3 has done with its campaign, where I never got lost and I found it easier compared to the said two Halo games. And what I can tell you, I got lost on the very first mission in Combat Evolved, and it's the same case with other missions where I got lost, I ran around in circles, I ended up in dead ends. I had to look up on YouTube, okay, what is this mission in this game, how do I beat it? I had to follow step by step to navigate myself to get out of there. So I think you can imagine what it's like if we were to tag along with each other in a Halo mission, right? And imagine putting me on a Halo ring, I would definitely get lost even in those buildings. Yeah, right? You played those Halo games before, right? Did you? I forgot.
No, I didn't. Like I said, I want to try Halo, but I haven't.
Would you
played
say you would get lost, or would you find not much difficulty?
I get lost very easily.
Well, I think I spoiled it for you there when I said Halo 3's campaign. It's rather easy. You don't have to really try because it's really straightforward, and to spoil it again, a lot of scenarios, it's just one straight path from start to end. They're not really gonna derail you and make you think, okay, should I take that door on the left? That scary pathway over there, is there gonna be an enemy hiding in that corner ready to jump out and kill me? I don't know. Yeah, but is there anything else you want to say about the Halo games and their campaigns?
Not really well. I haven't played them, so I can't say a lot about them.
Right. For other video games, are there any other campaigns you found difficult? Again, I'm not talking about the Halo games, but games you've played.
Difficult. It's hard to say. Don't think I really have one where I would say it was too difficult. I just can't do it unless you count Dark Souls or Elden Ring as campaign, but
Right.
they don't really have a campaign. They're just open world games.
Right. And this question I'm going to ask, you kind of answered it already, but would you consider playing any of the games I featured on my channel?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of course.
Titanfall 2?
I actually tried Titanfall 2 a bit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but not a lot, like an hour or so.
Oh,
But
well, just 1
I
hour.
enjoyed
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah. I did enjoy it, but I forgot why I stopped playing actually.
I guess it could
But
be
it
the
is-
ceiling, skill ceiling of that game, right? You lose
it could
patience.
be- Yep.
Yep.
I'm not really used to those games.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I really don't. Okay, so that's what I like to hear, but this question I'm going to bring up now, it's not about video games, but if you had to pick one modern sedan as your favorite, which one would it be? And is there a preference on what trim would you go for?
I have no clue, honestly.
You don't have a favorite car?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm not really a car guy.
Neither am I, to be honest.
I mean, I have a car. It's an old Mercedes from my aunt, but yeah, that's about all I can say about cars.
Yeah, it's a lot to get into if you start paying attention, right? If you were to buy one though, would you know what trim would you go for? Anything low end, high end? Like when they give you different packages, different options, would you go for something like on the medium or high end or no?
Probably low end.
Yeah, same here because when you look at the options they have, anything on the high end, I had to ask myself, okay, would I ever want that kind of feature or use it? Even appearance differences on the high ends, I would say, yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Just want to say, if you don't really need it, then there's no real reason to pay for it.
Well, yeah, I would definitely go for something on the low end because, as I said, for anything else, would I ever use those features? But if I had to pick a car that it is modern and a car that I like at all, it would be the 2024 Subaru Legacy at the GT trim, or as the United States would call it, the Sport trim. And my reason is because Subaru is my favorite car brand, and I do understand it's unfortunate that the final Legacy generation did not sell well, I think. But if you want to learn more from me, the choices you have in Canada in comparison to the United States, depending on what you are going for, to put Subaru on the spotlight, the choices you have for the final generation of the Legacy sedan, your choice is limited to only one option, which is the Sport trim. And let's see. The Sport trim is where the vehicle will have the red stripe on its front grille and offers a turbocharged engine. But again, when comparing options in both countries, the United States website offers more than one for the final generation Subaru Legacy, which means you can go for something on the lower end if you don't want the turbocharged engine. And let's see, what else is there? And the last time I checked on the Canadian website in comparison to the United States website, for the United States, they offer more color options even at the lowest trims, whereas in Canada, it's the opposite, where certain color options are only available if you were to go up a trim or more. So here's one example that I recall, which was the 2025 Crosstrek, which shows 5 colors for its lowest trim on the Canadian website. And if you go to the United States website, even at the lowest trim, it still offers colors such as pure red. So pretty much if I wanted to get a Crosstrek, if I ever wanted to one day, and I wanted to get it in red, I would have to go up a trim if I want that said vehicle in that said color. So is there anything else you want to tell me?
No, I don't. I don't think so. Just, do you know the reason why they do it like that in Canada? Like, where you have to go up?
For us to go up one in order to get what we want. I have no damn darn idea because, again, I'm not a car guy, I'm not a salesman, I'm not a car industry expert, but I think it's just how things work over there. But as I said, if you could do things by yourself, right, you can buy the car at its lowest trim, and then if you want any other color you want, you could just paint it yourself. Saves time from a trip to the body shop, right? It's kind of like what I said about, if you're building a PC or you're just making artwork, right, on Source Filmmaker. As long as you know how to do a lot of things yourself, you're saving yourself a lot of time because, again, it's your own choice. So here's a question. What misconceptions did you have about interviews done by YouTubers?
Well, this one was my very first interview done by a YouTuber.
Okay.
And I don't know, I thought I would be more nervous at first. Well, I was pretty nervous when we started, but I pretty much calmed down. And
Well,
I
it's nothing formal, right?
yeah.
Just a casual thing. And you wouldn't really have to worry about, you're not pronouncing things correctly because, look, I understand English is not your first language. If you're not pronouncing things smoothly and clearly, you could take a look at any video out there where everyone's just hanging around. They're not speaking in a formal way or a clear way. It's their choice. They're just trying to have fun, right? Even like podcast. I'm pretty sure you know what a podcast is, right? Where that kind of video, it's more or less people talking with each other, hanging out. So you wouldn't be surprised where they're saying things like this. So it was like a terrible weather yesterday, and yeah, I know, right? You know what I mean. It's not smooth, right? It's just people talking, having fun. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, right? So, is there anything else you want to tell me?
Well, I had a lot of fun until now, actually. It was a lot of fun talking to you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't expect so many topics, but
well, it is interesting that I found what you had to say about, in your perspective, and it was nice to ask you again about what have you seen about malls, right? Because if I didn't ask you, there could be some things I wouldn't even know because there are some things about when it comes to malls you wouldn't really know unless you start asking people about it.
Yep.
So that was it for the interview. Thanks for showing up and I will see you later.
Thank you very much for the interview. I
You're
had
welcome.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.